name's Amy Haye. I'm a dress historian and curator, and I work as joint director of the Centre for Fashion Curation at London College of Fashion. SHOWstudio have asked me to come in to comment on gaming costumes. I'm not a gamer and I'm not an expert on digital fashion, so I've looked at the characters and I'm going to try and break down the references that come to my mind when I look at these costumes. The first costume I'm going to look at is Princess Peach. Peach reminds me of blonde, blue-eyed Snow White. She's like a Disney character, like Ariel, like Cinderella. She wears a crown. Because of the technological restrictions, it's a reductivist crown. I think it's got just 4 points. They're decorated with rubies, which signify passion, nobility, and sapphires, which are about loyalty and love. And crowns are worn in all sorts of cultures. They symbolise power, authority, status, and in many cultures, divine rule as well. But interestingly, I think in the UK anyway, princesses don't actually wear crowns. Often you have to be married to wear a crown. In fairy tales and in games, princesses can wear crowns. Peach is completely conventional, binary, standard, gender stereotype, blonde character that is very much like in the Disney tradition. Her dress, of course, is pink, but I think it's important to say that we associate pink with girls, but that really is a mid-20th century association.
Just remember one thing, you can get a little wink if you've got a little pink in your swing.
If we look back to the 1770s and the dress of really decadent macaronis, for instance, these were men who wore pink and really bright colours, but it wasn't only the most decadent men that wore pink, it was a completely acceptable colour. She's got puff sleeves, it's nipped in at the waist, and it's full skirted, very much in the style of a mid-19th century crinoline. So historically, a skirt like that would have been padded with brick rolls of fabric, but from the 1850s it would have been supported by a cage crinoline to give it that sort of bell shape. It's got a swag of fabric just below the waist, which to me brings to mind a robe polonaise or a robe à la française, which was really fashionable in the 1770s and was revived again in the 1860s, so it's not an unusual marrying of this sort of swag of fabric with the crinoline. In England, it was actually described as Dolly Varden style, inspired by a novel by Charles Dickens, Barnaby Rudge. Peach wears long white gloves, which is a really standard, etiquette-correct form of evening dress that was worn certainly through the 19th century, right up until the 1960s when it started to decline. The most wealthy women wore really fine kid leather gloves. That's where the expression fitted like a glove comes from, because they fitted just perfectly. They were done up with little buttons here that you needed a button hook to undo, and probably a lady's maid to help you do that. They signified wealth, they signified leisure, they didn't get dirty. They were nearly always in pale colours and worn with the evening dress, so you got just this tiny glimpse of upper arm. The silhouette of Peach's costume is mid-19th century, but it's also a style that was revived in the 1930s. On first glance, looking at Peach's costume, it looks quite reductivist, quite simple. It's flat, there's no sense of texture, of layering, of drape, but the more you look, the more sort of cultural references you can find.